Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Rogue Trader with me, Break It Dawn. Let's continue exploring this era.
That's how it's done.
Dark Maroon Amasek is pouring out of the ridiculously gaudy fountain. Eager cupbearer hands you a goblet filled to the brim. Have a taste if you please, my celestial lord. This vintage has been maturing ever since we laid the cornerstone of our citadel. We tapped it to celebrate you. Do you always have Amasek flowing from that fountain? By no means. Such frivolous access would impede us in carrying out our burden of service to the Emperor. It is only on truly great days, such as today, that the fountain pours forth this noble beverage. Besides, even the sturdiest of servants could not work the pump for days on end. The pump. Naturally, my celestial lord. It requires the grueling labor of dozens of sturdy workers to create an upward movement of the liquid in the pipes. It is a most useful contraption. Drink. Thank you. A pleasant warmth spreads through your body. The liquor is surprisingly palatable. The servant fills another cup and exclaims, "May your spirit be stronger than any Amasek." Drink a second cup. Your mind is a little hazy, and a drunken flush brightens your cheeks. The Amasek may go down deceptively smoothly, but its strength is already making itself known. The cupbearer refills your goblet, then with a sudden soulfulness, he looks into your eyes and sighs. May you, unlike the rest, always be the master of your fate. Alright, drink a third cup. Your head feels light and pleasantly empty. It looks like you are more than a little tipsy. A heavy hand is laid on your shoulder, as Solomon's voice comes in cold and insistent. You ought to stop, Rogue Trader. We still have business to attend to. Offer the drink to your retinue. Albert accepts the cup with great decorum, takes half a gulp, and grunts thoughtfully. An interesting bouquet, not particularly refined, but quite potable, in my uninitiated opinion. Thank you, Lord Captain, but we need one of us to remain sober. The interrogator gives you a mildly reproachful look. Erlia looks at the cup of Amasek with what seems to be desperation. Finally, she twists her lips and utters a forced but firm no. It is an honor to accept a gift from you, Daman. Bella looks pensively at her own reflection in the cup, and with a swift motion of her hand, pours its contents into her ceremonial flask. Hand the cup to Solomorn. The duty of a valued guest is calling, Proctor. No, and that's because I am on a mission. Solomorn studies the fountain with a critical eye. This is nothing more than carousel on a backward world, no matter how many courtfuls are singing our glories. There's neither honor nor pleasure in partaking of local liquor. Come on, Solomorn, just one cup. Once I'm back on your flagship, I'll raise a glass to the success of this mission. That is, I might raise a glass of water. Hand the cup to Maeve. The young woman's cheeks flush a bright red. She accepts the drink from you. Thank you, my celestial lord. Here's to you prospering forever. The Sarah always serving you truly and faithfully. Maeve takes a sip and coughs, but upon noticing your gaze, she probably downs the drink after all. I step away. I think I've had enough. The cupbearer beams. Has your promenade put you in the mood for a drink, my celestial lord? Step away. Or to keep my mind clear, which is actually true. I dare not protest. Should you change your mind, I'm always at your service. Ooh, Radiant Shield. Whenever the wielder blocks an attack, the attacker must pass an agility resistance test or become blinded for 1 round. Well, well, well. How does it compare? I don't know, it just doesn't look as good. I think the effect on the insulator shield is better. We'll do it anyway.
I always have a backup plan.
Oh, and a hardened shield. The wielder gains +1 deflection and 8% parry. And a feudal sword. I don't think I've noticed those arrows at the bottom before.
Keep your wits about you.
Alright, Tavrisk the Sculptor. Sculptor's mechanical hands crawl over the rough stone, the many jointed metal fingers remaining in constant motion. Even now, you recognize your own features in the unfinished piece. It seems someone commissioned a statue of you the moment you set foot on the planet. The old man turns his wrinkled face to you. You see crystals where his eyes should be. Is my celestial lord here to gaze upon his destiny? Alas, my creation is not yet complete. I'm here to look at the sculpture. What has my destiny got to do with it? When I sculpt, your celestial highness, I see people's destinies in the forms I create. The visions that come to me shape not only the stone, but the person's fate as well. The image was indistinct when it appeared before me. My work is not yet done. What do you wish to behold? These musings on destinies and fates remind me of a heretical cult that has been plaguing the Von Valancius domain of late. Your vision sculptor, or whispers of the warp. Heinrich glares ominously at the old man. I pass through the halls of the Black Ship. My celestial lord may be certain that my creations bear no evil within them. Tell me, what do you wish to see shaped in stone? This is ludicrous. You do not decide my destiny, nor do I need a monument. As your celestial highness desires. However, there is no escaping your fate. The old man shrugs, his worn armatics creaking. Who are you? A humble creator, the governor's first sculptor, Tavrisk, who has the honor of shaping the destinies of others but not his own. Tavrisk the sculptor turns his head to you, but you see no pupils in his crystal ocular augmetics. I do not quite understand. Are you a psyker? A lord governor calls me a foreteller and creator, others a wicked sorcerer. But there's no cause for concern. My abilities are sanctioned, and I am pure before the Emperor's celestial eye. He gestures at the tubes on the back of his head, as if to prove the truth of his words. What can you tell me about this material you're working with? This is Thacertium, or Thacertium, a fascinating stone born from the bowels of this planet. Like any other kind, it bends and melts beneath the sculptor's tool. But for the sculpture to come to life in earnest, they must put their very soul into it. One of his hands emerges from behind the statue, gently touches his head, seemingly of its own volition. The soul, however, claims calluses the more the sculptor works. Mine has long since become covered in scabs. He carves his works using the psychic abilities he is cursed with. An astonishingly frivolous application of warp powers. Your hand augmetics are most impressive. Such implants are impossible to come by on a feudal world. Where are you from? Lord Ruoldo had my limbs replaced before he took me from my home planet. It was so long ago, I have since forgotten what my land is like to the touch. The sculptor's mechanical arms are pierced by sticky tubes, and the elbow joints have all but worn down. It must have been a decade since these implants were last serviced. Such neglect often poses a serious threat to the person's life, and yet, the old man's skin looks relatively healthy in the spots where flesh and metal meet. This man appears to belong to a rare variety of psychers, biomancers capable of recovering even otherwise deadly wounds and diseases. You capture the governor's destiny in sculpture too. His mouth stretches into a cryptic smile. I have made thousands of statues for Ruoldo, but the Sarah stone flesh can never seem to sate his great ambitions. Leave. The old sculptor once more turns his unseeing gaze to the patterns in the stone before him. Maeve, bring me a cup of Amasec. Make sure it's filled to the brim. Comes an unexpected order from Solomorn. It will be done, my Lord Adjudicator. Solomon waits until Maeve is some distance away, then turns to you. I want to talk to you without the observer they have attached to us overhearing. He casts a sweeping glance around the courtyard and lowers his voice. You get the sense that what is happening raises questions that lack coherent answers. I am uneasy as well, on account of certain unusual circumstances. Which ones in particular? The governor barely manages to stay in his saddle, which is odd for a local nobleman. Not too odd considering Ruoldo's ravenous fondness for food and Amasec, but an astute observation nonetheless. Remember the last mutant from the public execution? Something was off about him, and it wasn't just the physical deformity. Yes, mutation is a corruption that seldom leaves a person with a sound mind, but the madman spouted on the scaffold, and what he had done to himself, was beyond the pale. The local beliefs. What is this tripe about altering your destiny? The God Emperor alone knows how many different cults of him there are. No two planets worship him in quite the same way. If only a heretic would wax poetic about altering a fate that was ordained by the Emperor once and for all. Have you seen the writings of that madman Fault, the Chronicle of Fates? It is lunacy bordering on heresy. Not bordering, they are heresy writ large. But that is not what troubles me. What troubles me is that the madman succeeded in publishing them. The fact there was a mutant attack during a public execution with no clear or evident cause. The attack is unlikely to have been planned. It looked too messy, shall we say. On the other hand, perhaps that's the best this backwater planet can do when it comes to plotting and scheming. I do not like the way the governor is using every means possible to stall our inquiry into the Tithe. Indeed. At first one could mistake it for a sycophancy, an attempt to appease the celestial guests. But the longer it goes on, the more apparent the criminal intent behind this stalling of the inevitable becomes. What is your conclusion? I have a theory. I'd like to hear yours first, lest my opinions influence your reasoning. The Tithe is a ruse. The governor is fully aware that with every hour that passes without him providing a report, his sentence only becomes more severe, which means he's not even trying to account for the shortage. I suspect that there is some goal he's pursuing in trying to keep us here on Thessera. Solomon chuckles. Expertly noted. It somehow slipped my mind that you collected tributes from just as many worlds as I have in your time. I do not have a strong hypothesis for why the governor is stalling us, but I would like to propose a plan. Let's not give away the fact that we are aware of his ploy, wait for an opportune moment to strike. We do not know the territory, so we should act suddenly and take no chances. Let's decide on a signal we will use when the time is right. When I say lovely weather, we attack. Understood. Maeve returns, taking quick, careful steps along the paved road, a brimming goblet in her hands. Here, Amasec, my lord. I haven't spilt a drop. Without a word, the The arbitrator hurls a drink on the pavement. The splash of Amasek is like a scarlet wound upon the stone, as if polished by 1,000 souls. Sorry, Maeve.
Always keep your eye on the prize. Failure is just a temporary setback.
Your seneschal is always there for you.
Rise to the top, or get left in the dust.
Armor of Iron Will. Whenever the wearer blocks an attack, all adjacent creatures must pass a toughness resistance test or suffer 1 stack of perplexed. A base armor property plus 10% armor against range attacks. Interesting. I still think what I have equipped is better. But what's he have? Sure. We'll use that for now.
I always keep my options open.
The enormous gate is locked fast. Tables are overflowing with rare and peculiar food. There's enough of it to easily feed dozens of hungry mouths, so the servants are unlikely to get even a morsel of this feast. It does not escape your notice that a few leftovers from the plates disappear into the servant's filthy apron.
Is there money to be made?
Oh, what did he say? Who drinks water to feast, you dimwit? Hurry up and bring me some Amasek. Apologies, my lord. Open a new bottle at once. The governor's hand reaches for the Amasek, but flinches under your gaze and abruptly changes trajectory toward the appetizers. Today is a very nervous day, your celestial highness. And when I feel nervous, I eat, and drink, and eat again. That's just the way I am. But Emperor, have mercy. The food today is to die for. Would you like to have some? Recommend you try the fried alcedont, whose horns were still goring my hunters just the other day. And here we have some 5-tailed shrimperiuses and stewed black eye sauce. These fellows need to be eaten quickly, before they scurry off the plate. As for the side dishes, you simply must have a taste of these crispy, labrid shells seasoned with blue glut. This spice scorches your tongue, but follow it with some Amasek, it'll feel like the waters of life itself. Thank you, I'm not hungry. I feel it in my heart that we have failed to please you, and of course, there are those freaks running wild. This entire celebration, its whole endeavor has been a tremendous waste. Last words fade. I lost my spot. The last words fade into an incoherent mutter as a man's trembling hand reaches for the Amasek. My lord, remember what the physician told you. Temperance is the best cure for your ailments. I fear that you have disobeyed his wishes again today. And now I am paying for it with a compromised sense of balance and regrettable inability to admire the disguised imposters. And the hunt is already in full swing. Salamor leans over to you. Rogue traitor, once you've had your fill of the governor, Let me ask him a few questions. What is this hunt you mentioned? Ruoldo waves a hand at Maeve. Be a darling and tell our guests about our amusements. I'm a little exhausted. Of course, my lord. The imposter hunt takes place every moonlight. Shortly before the event, the servants are thoroughly cleansed of dirt and foulness, combed, dressed in expensive clothing and masks, and invited to the courtyard with the rest of the guests. The nobles hide their faces as well, and then they try to guess who the imposters are. Telling one from the other is quite a challenge sometimes. The governor suddenly perks up again, and that is the best part. I highly recommend you try it, your celestial highness. It makes for a very interesting change of pace. And on this occasion, the privilege of branding, if you will, falls entirely to you, our honored celestial guest. Suppose I found all the imposters. What happens next? May produces a shimmering slate featuring a string of fine inscriptions. This is a data brand, one of our off-world treasures. We handle it with the greatest care. And yet, all of this era's jewels and miracles cannot compare to the resplendence of your glory, my celestial lord. When you find an imposter, you need only mark them with this wondrous brand. At the end of the hunt, we hold a great feast. If you guess at least one of the imposters, you also win a fine prize. If you guess all four, there'll be an even more special reward. I remember at one of the hunts, a servant played the role of a baron so well that all the lords unanimously granted him favor, let him keep the title and privileges of the nobility. Such a thing rarely happens, but who knows what the evening will bring. For tonight, it is you who will determine the worthy, my celestial lord. You just admit that there is a masquerading rabble among the Thessarian nobles. Illiterate, with no idea how to collect tithes or buy the throne, that actually explains so much. The proctor scoffs and glances at the enthusiastic guests. Go ahead, Governor. Commence your charade. The sooner we start, the sooner we finish. The Governor lets out an audible gulp. It shall be done, Master Judicator. How does one find an imposter in the crowd? By the way they talk, by their lack of restraint. The unfamiliar delicacies overwhelm them so much that they lose control. Imposters are often scared of the responsibility that has fallen on their weak shoulders. They try to stay close to the real nobles and imitate their rarefied manners. During the hunt, it is most worthwhile to pay attention to separate groups where conversation has already started. A frightened imposter will probably try to hide behind other people's backs. That's all I know, Celestial Lord. Salamorn, may I ask the Governor your questions? If I can amuse the esteemed Judicator with conversation, I'll be only too glad to. But of course, I've always wanted to try my hand at casual small talk. Salamorn folds his arms imperiously over his chest, somehow becoming even taller in stature and broader in the shoulders. Tell me about the Laceraxes, Governor. Such fascinating creatures. Where did you get them from? I cannot tell you off the top of my head. There are not many planets that have Laceraxes. I received these beasts a long time ago as a gift. It is well known that Laceraxes can only be found on Yanis. The Governor throws up his hands. Can they? And I was sure that they were a common beastie. I might have embarrassed myself there. I'd be glad to talk about something else. Do not judge me harshly. I'm just trying to get into the festive mood as best I can. We can certainly change the subject. I'd like to note that I find your youth-extending face transplant procedure amazing. Does this era possess any other unique knowledge or items brought over from your homeworld? What is that world called, by the way? Ah, my native Edex. Unfortunately, I have not introduced much from it beyond the art of changing faces. But perhaps the Celestial Lord has taken a liking to some of Thessaria's original creations. You cannot pronounce the name of your homeworld. Really. The Governor takes a big sip from his cup. I'm a bit tipsy, so I cannot help it. On a day like today, it'd be criminal not to toast such important guests. I was interested in the musical servitors. It can only have been brought to you by the Crimson Priests, correct? Can you tell me why they visited the planet? I think they were the red robes who arrived to celebrate the ascendance of a new governor. That's me. Ruoldo's wistful gaze follows a Shrimperius fleeing the table. Why would servants of the Omnissiah care who had taken the throne of a technologically undeveloped world? The governor shrugs helplessly. I was too overjoyed at their appearance to ask. I guess a gesture of deference, I suppose. Who can ever understand those mysterious Crimson Priests? Indeed, the Tech Priests are famous for having many vocations outside of pursuing technology and discovering new knowledge, like music and visits of courtesy. Thank you for the conversation, Governor. I've learned everything I wanted to know. Participate in the hunt. Marvelous. As soon as you're done with your search, I will be... The governor attempts to rise from the table, but gravity proves to be his superior. Alright, a data brand. This brand leaves an almost invisible holographic mark on anyone it touches. Contains 4 charges. Perhaps you should stay here, my lord. Maeve's gaze is full of genuine concern. I feel you may be right, Maeve. I'll be waiting here, surrounded by savory dishes and plentiful amasec. Have a fruitful hunt, your celestial highness. Alright, and I'm going to call it here. Next time we'll participate in the hunt and go from there. But for now, thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one.